My name is Samantha Williams-Chapelsky, and I'm the Golden Working Artist for the province of Alberta. Today I'm going to be doing a project with Stencil Girl Stencils and Golden Acrylics. I hope you enjoy, and please visit my website at www.samanthawilliamschapelsky.com for more online classes and great workshop ideas. Today we're going to be working on a little project here using some Stencil Girl stencils, some golden acrylic products, and we're going to be actually creating this little quick transfer acrylic floral painting. So this is on a birch support, and I'm going to take you step by step through all of the materials we're going to use today, as well as how to apply the materials to create this effect. So I really love using stencils in the background of a lot of these different paintings. That way it gives it some texture, some interest in the background. And in this one you can see there's actually two different types of stencils being used here, as well as a quick transfer image. So to start with, we are going to be using a birch panel. This is fairly typical cradled birch panel that you can buy at your art supply store. For this project, you will need a laser printed photocopy. So this is an image that I bought off of a stock photo company, and this is a laser print, which means the ink sits on the surface and it's actually baked onto the paper. So we are going to be using this to get our image for our project. So you'll need a laser copy print. You'll also need a couple of Stencil Girl stencils. So stencilgirl.com is this amazing company that has access to so many different kinds of stencils. So this is the project I'm working with today. And I've got the Tide Pool stencil, which is this one here. You can see it's got a little bit of a water-like effect. And this is the net stencil. Okay. I also have some sponges. We're going to be using these to apply some of the paint. I've got golden glass bead gel, which we will use at the end of the project, golden polymer medium gloss, as well as golden matte medium. Got golden heavy body nickel azo yellow, golden heavy body anthraquinone blue, and heavy body manganese blue. Then I've got golden fluid acrylic pyrrole orange. This is the bright orange that we have actually underneath this painting, so you can see that beautiful bright orange. I've got golden fluorescent pink, and this is a high flow acrylic, so this is really thin, really beautiful stuff. And of course I've got some brushes, sort of in assorted sizes here, and a color shaper. Okay, so to get started, we are going to take our birch panel and we are actually going to cover this with fluid pyrrole orange. We're going to give it an all over nice even cover, and I'm just going to switch out to a board that I already have done so you don't have to watch me paint the board orange. And for all of my projects I try to paint the edges as well as the top, just so that I've got that nice border of that bright orange. So to start, I'm going to be taking my net stencil, so this is this one here, and I'm going to place it on top of my pyrrole orange board. Now make sure your board is dry before you start doing this project. You really want a dry board, that way your blues stay nice and clean and crisp. I'm going to apply on my palette paper some heavy body manganese blue. I've got some titanium white heavy body and some anthraquinone blue heavy body. And with my various sponges, I'm basically going to dab the paint around my stencil to create a really neat texture. So I'm going to start with some manganese blue, and I'm just going to dab it on top of the stencil. I pick up some titanium white heavy body again. Heavy body makes it a little bit easier to tuck on top of the stencil so it doesn't slide underneath. That way we get a nice clean stencil line. Again, some more manganese blue here. So now because I want to get the all over effect, and right now what I'll have is more of just a stencil with a border, which is quite beautiful. I'm actually just going to slide my stencil around, and I'm going to apply some more paint to cover those edges. I'm just creating almost a texture for this painting to sit on top of. And it doesn't matter if I go over some of the areas or I can leave some of them plain. And then I'm going to go over to this side And I'm actually going to pick up a little bit of that anthraquinone blue. It's a little bit darker. And add a little bit of that in, as well as the manganese. And again, I'm going to lift up my stencil, move it down. You can see I'm trying to cover each of the corners. And again, one more time, I'm going to pick it up, move it around, make sure my last corner is covered. So I'll take my net stencil and I'm going to wash that off. I'm going to put it to the side, and again you can see this beautiful fun texture that we've created just by layering the stencil with itself over top of that beautiful bright pyrrole orange. So once this is dry, we're going to take it to the next step, and this is where you're going to need the laser photocopy. So I've done this one here. This is a dahlia. It's a really fun image to work with, and it's got really strong crisp lines, which is sort of what you're looking for this project. And what we're going to be doing, make sure your board is completely dry and ready to go. This one I did earlier. I'm going to be taking some matte medium, and I'm going to be applying a little bit to the surface, and I'm going to brush this all over the surface. Now my friend Melanie Matthews, who's a working artist, really taught me this trick, so this is called a quick transfer. So I'm going to brush this all over, making sure I've got a nice coat of that matte medium. Now I've cut my photocopy a little bit just to make it so that I don't have to take off so much paper. I'm going to take my photocopy, I'm going to decide where I want to place it, and I'm going to press it down. Now for this, if you have some sort of color shaper or device with sort of a softer edge, you really want to scrape this down. Okay, we want to make sure we get all of those air pockets out. We really adhere that laser copy ink to the surface. Now why this is called a quick transfer is we are going to remove this within about 30 to 50 seconds. Melanie taught me that, so that was a great trick. So I've got it really well adhered here. I don't see any bubbles on the surface. I know everything's really stuck down, and I'm going to leave it for that 30 seconds. Alright, so we've waited our 30 seconds, and as you can see, I'm going to peel back here. I've got this perfect little bit of white paper coming off here. You can see I'm able to peel off this paper without removing any of that ink. So I'm basically going to remove this. You can see I'm getting rid of that first layer of paper. Now after this point, I really want to let this dry for a few minutes. 3 minutes is probably the easiest because I really don't want to tear off any of the ink at this point. I really want to make sure it's dry. And then to remove this, I'll actually just wet my fingertips lightly, and then I will slowly remove the remainder of the paper. And that's what's called a quick transfer. So we're getting that really quick instant transfer. So I've done this before. And I've sort of pre-done one just so I can show you the rest of the steps. And I've got that beautiful transfer here of that dahlia image. Now to really make it pop and give it some extra flavor, I'm going to be applying some so this is fluorescent pink, and I've got a little bit of nickel azo yellow. So kind of an odd color combination, but I really love the effect and the orange that this creates. So I'm going to start by applying it over top of my image. Now you can see here that fluorescent pink, as you can see on the bottle, is extremely transparent. So we're going to be able to layer over top of this image. We're going to get this really beautiful effect. And I'm just painting over where the flower is at this point. I really want to highlight some of that bright orange underneath, as well as all those layers of blue we did. I'm adding some of this pink to all those little leaves, all those sort of little delicate embellishments. And I'm doing a very thin, almost wash, but I'm not adding any water. I'm basically just applying the paint right to the surface. High Flow is an extremely thin paint, so I'm able to see pretty much everything underneath this because it's so transparent and so thin. Now I'm also going to pick up a little bit of this nickel azo yellow. Once I mix it into the pink, I get this beautiful orange. So I'm going to start brushing some of this in as well. I'm going to try to add this to some of the tips of the flower. That way we've got just a little bit of a contrast. I really love adding this right on the outer edge of the flower, sort of leaving that darker inner circle, and then having the bright orange on the outer edge. So I'm going to brush this in. I'm using one of my smaller brushes to do some of this work. And then again, you can pick and choose where you'd like to add this color. You certainly don't have to add it in everywhere. But we've kind of created that beautiful pop of a color on this image. So just having those two colors can do so much to this transfer. So once I'm done this, I'm going to let it dry. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to take my Tide Pool stencil, which is this one here, and I'm going to lay it over top of my image. Now, this is where we will want the golden glass bead gel. Now, this bead gel dries completely clear, so I'm going to scoop out some of it here onto my palette. I'll move these sponges to the side. So I've got my clear glass bead gel, and what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to apply the glass bead gel to all the areas around the flower, but I really don't apply them to the flower itself. I'm going to be creating this secondary texture on top of that black image and just around it. That way I really highlight the pink as sort of this flat matte area of color. Then I've got this little bit of glass bead gel sparkle that you can see here. So I'm going to pick this up. This is a color shaper, which works really great, especially when you're using stencils. And I'm going to apply this just to the areas that don't have that pink on them. So this is sort of the neat thing about stencils, is you can selectively put any of the golden gels or pastes around one of your images, and that way you're kind of giving it a secondary texture. And because this is clear and will dry completely clear, we'll have that little bit of sparkle from the glass bead right on the surface. You can see I'm going relatively thick with this. You don't really need to be too concerned with how crazy thick or thin you go. You just want a really nice overall coverage of those beads. So the glass bead gel is great because you can see all the little glass beads in it, and you're really able to tell if you've got a really thin layer or a really thick layer. Now once I'm done, sort of got all my areas covered, I'm going to very carefully remove this Tide Pool stencil. You can see here I've got this beautiful stenciled area all the way around the flower. Now once this dries, again, you'll be left with this perfectly clear glass bead gel, which will look absolutely beautiful. And then we've got that flat fluorescent pink color. And once this dries, it actually goes a little bit brighter and a little bit bolder. So that would be my project using some Stencil Girl stencils. Thank you so much. For more information on my work or classes and upcoming online workshops, please visit www.samanthawilliamschapelsky.com.